Hi everyone, welcome back to the EMDR Doctor podcast. I'm Dr. Caroline Lloyd, and today I'm going to be answering some frequently asked questions. These are a series of questions that are, fairly randomly generated and just things that people often ask me. So one of the common things that comes up is EMDR hypnosis? No, EMDR is very different to hypnosis. So I have done a whole podcast on this. So if you want a detailed answer, then please go to episode 14. But basically with EMDR, you are awake and alert the whole time. You are definitely in control of what goes on. You are driving the process just with my guidance, whereas with hypnosis, it's very much in the hands of the therapist. The therapist is driving the process, not the client. So hypnosis is great for lots of things, and I was actually trained in hypnosis quite a long time ago. In my experience, EMDR is a much better modality for trauma. So I used hypnosis for a little while when I was helping people to lose weight, and I found it to be really good at stopping addictions like, for example, chocolate addiction. And also it's really great for relaxation, and I do still use it from time to time to help people with relaxation, or maybe at the end of a session just to help them gather their thoughts and just be a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more present. So the short answer to that question is EMDR is not hypnosis. They have some very significant differences. They each have their benefit for different things. Another question that I get asked quite a lot is, do the eye movements actually matter? Yes, is the answer to this question. So eye movements are very important for EMDR. You can get away with doing bilateral stimulation of some other sort, like tapping or like the auditory bilateral tones and so on, but there is evidence to show that the eye movements actually do get a better result. So we do try and encourage the use of eye movements, but sometimes that isn't possible, like with eye injuries or maybe epilepsy or concussion or migraines, that sort of thing. And we can use other modalities for the bilateral if we can't use eye movements, but we do try and do the eye movements. Another question I get asked quite frequently is, how quickly does EMDR work? And the answer to that is both how long is a piece of string and also instant. So when you are doing the EMDR, the target that you work on, by the end of that session, if it's fully resolved, then there's no distress, no disturbance associated with that memory. However, if that memory was representative of 1,000 other memories, then we have to work on the memory network. We have to work on a certain number of those memories that belong to that general group of memories. And so we may need a few sessions. We may need 50 sessions. We can't really answer that question without knowing a little bit more about the history. So yes, it works immediately, and also to see the benefit of the EMDR, you may have to do more than one session. You may have to do a series of sessions, but there is certainly change happening right from the word go. So I do often get asked, can EMDR cure PTSD? And I'm going to answer this question in a slightly different way. Firstly, yes, it can. And I see this very often. And there is a lot of academic evidence to support this. It can also help anxiety, depression, personality disorders, insomnia, nightmares, panic attacks, low self-esteem, perfectionism, childhood trauma, traumatic grief, eating disorders, substance use, and a lot of other issues. So EMDR can cure PTSD. It was originally designed for PTSD. It can be used for a lot of other mental health issues and also for things like performance, but it can be hard and it's not for everyone. Which brings me to the next question. Can EMDR bring up memories I've forgotten? So sometimes people come to me and they say, I've forgotten everything from, grade 4 backwards. So I have no memories of my childhood. My memories begin in grade 5. So this is a really interesting question. Can we reveal memories that have previously been hidden to us? So the short answer is yes. The long answer is more complex. So the long answer is yes, it can reveal memories that I've forgotten, but it doesn't always. And sometimes it can reveal memories that are happy, and sometimes it can reveal memories that are awful. So say, for example, if I was bullied in grade 4 and I remember nothing from before grade 4, once we work on the bullying in grade 4 and those memories resolve and become not distressing anymore, then we may find that we start remembering good memories from grade 4. Oh yeah, I do remember going down to the oval with my friends and playing tag, or I do remember the craft sessions that we used to do, or I do remember happy times that I used to have in choir when we sang with the choir, whatever they may be. So once that block of the bad memory is resolved and diminished, then it's kind of like grade 4 becomes a little bit more transparent and you can see further into grade 4. So there might be happy times available from that time, as well as remembering that bullying did happen. So it can happen that we can remember happy memories as a result of diminishing the effect of the unhappy memories. However, if someone comes to me and says, I don't remember anything from my childhood from before I was 11, and then when I was 11, we moved house and I remember everything from that house, and I remember school, and I remember the different suburb, and life was okay after that, and I remember perfectly clearly what happened thereafter. So what I might suspect then was that house was the location in which some pretty awful, terrible things happened. Now, this is speculation on my part, obviously. So quite often as we're processing a really difficult memory, people will come up with a lot of detail about that memory. And they'll say to me at the end, I didn't really know that I remembered so much, and I'm really surprised. I knew I had a little bit of that memory, but it seems that something about EMDR does allow more detail to emerge. And once we process the really big bits, the bits that kind of stick out as the bad memory, once we process that and it's less invasive, then other bits and pieces do seem to float up to the surface. And I don't know the neurobiology behind this. It's a really intriguing field, memory and memory loss and dissociated memories. And so I can't give you much formal information on this. But I have had clients who, once they process one really big, awful memory, they do get more memories back from the childhood preceding that event. And I have also had clients where we have processed what we can and nothing further emerges. It's just like everything prior to a certain age was just obliterated. So this is just my experience. It's a really mixed bag. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes they're good memories that come up. Other times they're bad memories that resurface. And sometimes no memories resurface. So do I have to believe that EMDR will work for it to help me? No, is the answer to that question. And I have had a lot of people who have been very skeptical about EMDR. They either don't believe the science, or they think it's a load of baloney, or they think that they are different somehow. And they think that waving this thing around in their face is a bit of woo-woo, and I have to say it's quite a reasonable hesitation to have. You know, it is a weird sort of therapy, and I didn't believe in it before I experienced it myself. So other people come in, they say, well, my trauma is just too big and too awful, and that might work okay for some people, but my trauma is too big. And I really love working with these people, because the look on their face when we get to a point and we go back to that memory, and I say, when I ask you to think about that difficult memory now, they have this look of kind of consternation on their face. They're like, well, you know, I know that it happened, but I just can't see it clearly anymore. And that is the magic moment for me of EMDR, when people realize that we've worked on this difficult memory, it's lost its charge. So, and quite often these people are the ones who were very skeptical to start with, and I just really love that moment. It's a wonderful thing to behold. It's one of the joys in my work. So you do not need to believe that EMDR will work for you in order for it to work. It is not a placebo effect. So the next question is around, can EMDR make you feel worse before you feel better? Yes. The unfortunate answer to this is yes. So with EMDR, we actually face into those really difficult memories. So we get past all the avoidance that is often part of PTSD and part of trauma. So we kind of work our way past the avoidance, and then we face right into those really difficult subject matters. So that in itself takes courage, and it can be really difficult to do that. But once we've done that and we start processing the difficult memories, often people do feel better. But there can be a phase where we open up all of that hurt and all of the shame and all of the awfulness of those memories. And especially if it's been really prolonged and severe childhood trauma, we can't process it all at once. We can't do it all in the one go. So it takes time. It might take 5 sessions, it might take 20 sessions, it may take 50 sessions. So for people who start on a journey of tackling their really big memories from childhood, you know, it might be a year of weekly EMDR for them to overall stop having nightmares, being able to be present with everything, being able to do all the things that they want to do in their daily life. So it can be quite hard to manage. But so for some people, they get better very quickly. And for some people, it is a slow journey. And the effect of the EMDR on the person's life can be delayed. It can take a while to show up. So it really does take courage to do that really big work, and it can take a lot of support, a lot of understanding, and a lot of tolerance sometimes for people to be able to sit with those big and awful feelings of despair and worthlessness and shame and so on. So for some people at a particular point in their life, it's not possible to do that, and that's absolutely okay. There are other therapies that are gentler, a little bit more supportive, or that a little bit more avoidant even, and they don't go towards the trauma. And sometimes people need that for a period of time in their life. They may be going through a divorce, or they may be going through a court case, and they just don't have the bandwidth to do EMDR. You know, they may be caring for children who are very demanding or who have high needs. And at that point, that might not be a good time to do EMDR. There may be other more helpful ways of managing the trauma in the short term. They may not get rid of the PTSD, but they may help people cope with the PTSD whilst that difficult period is in action. So the answer to that question is yes, things sometimes do get worse before they get better, It can be part of the process. But just know that every little piece of EMDR that you do does help you get better. So the next question is a really simple question. Can EMDR be done online? Yes, absolutely. We learned that during COVID. Some people knew that beforehand. But yes, during COVID, we did a lot of online EMDR. And now we have that option. So we have the skills to do it. We have the technology to do it. And we are all more comfortable with doing things online. And for some people, doing it online is their only option, like people who maybe have a disability or find it hard to get around or are agoraphobic or who live in the country or in a remote area. So there are clinicians who love doing EMDR online for their own reasons. So maybe they have a disability or a transport problem or live remotely. So it's just a matter of finding a clinician who wants to do EMDR online with you. I prefer to do it in person because I like the relationship that develops in the in-person space. And also I tend to get a bit of a sore neck. So if I'm doing EMDR online, I kind of peer towards the computer screen and that actually makes my neck worse. So that's just a health and safety issue for me. But EMDR online is a fantastic way to make EMDR more accessible to more people. All right, that's come to the end of my list of most frequently asked questions. If you have a question that I haven't covered and you want me to do another little series of these, feel free to send it in to me or hop onto my website, emdrdoctor.com.au. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I will talk to you again next week. In the meantime, take good care. Bye for now.